Hello again, everybody. Adrian Hextall here from the Maid of Stone Podcast crew. Welcome to our second podcast, where we're going to be looking at the rising cost of attending gigs in the country at the moment, and to be fair, around the world as well. In a packed programme tonight, as the two runners used to say, we'll be covering off whether we can actually afford to go to more than one Pete Malley show per year. We'll be deciding whether we can fit one of Pete's shows in with Maid of Stone Festival as well. We've got some thoughts and insights from various members on the team as well, and I'll just let them say hello before we kick into gear. Chris.
Hello. Thanks, Adrian. It's good to be here, and thank you for everyone who for joining us.
Pete, make yourself known.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pete K Malley. I should really be on this podcast because I've got no talent, but Chris has promised me a free ticket, and Shane Greenhall is my all-time hero. So I've managed to sneak on Zoom without anybody noticing.
And we'd like to make a special welcome to our guest tonight that Pete has sneaked on to spend some airtime with. Shane, very warm welcome to you. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Looking forward to it. Any news for your fans, Shane, about what you guys are doing? What have you got coming up? What's happening anytime soon?
Oh, man. Okay, straight in. I'm the wrong firstly, I'm the wrong person to be asking this to, because my memory is like a sieve. And I know we got arena shows. Basically, we're writing our fourth album currently, and we're hoping to get into the recording studio in May, June to start recording. But before that, we got April. We got a European tour with Takeda. Playing arena shows in Germany, Switzerland, Austria. We've got obviously main stage download 2024 with Royal Blood and Queens of the Stone Age. We play Wembley Arena with Rival Sons and ZZ Top. And then we got you guys, Maid of Stone, way the big one, July 20th. We can't wait for that. There's other shows coming, but I can't talk about that. They're the ones that are confirmed, but the other shows throughout the year. But if you just follow us on our pages, social media and stuff, that'll give you all the information you need. It'd be better coming from that than me. Honest to God, I couldn't tell you half the time. I just turn up and play, man. They just tell me where to play. I'm terrible.
I suppose the one thing to pick up on that is like a lot of bands, you'll have your die-hard followers, won't you, that'll try and follow you around the country, presumably. Yeah. Given the topic that we're kind of looking at to cover tonight, are those die-hard fans managing to stay with you? Do they try and get to as many shows as, say, they used to be able to before gig prices went through the roof?
They really do, man. We're really fortunate. Our Crow family, as we call them, they're insanely loyal. It's a beautiful thing, man. Every sort of stage, and as obviously the band grows, the venues grow, the rooms grow, and people are coming and paying their tickets. Now, we did obviously European tour last year, and we was absolutely bowled over how many people came from the UK. So it's not just in the UK, you know, they come and travel and stuff. So it's incredible. It's a really, now obviously our ticket prices aren't the same as like AC/DC and ZZ Top. And so it's interesting to see what happens there. But those guys have been around for, you know, decades. Whether that, you know, justifies the ticket price, it's not for me to say. Although we are playing with ZZ Top in Wembley, and there have been a few people that have said, you know, they'd love to come, but the ticket price is just a little out of reach. And I respect that. I understand that. It is the nature of the beast, I think.
Shane, can I just point out there?
Open for discussion.
So yeah, just to point out, Shane, I disagree with one thing you said, if you don't mind. You said you were fortunate. I don't think you are fortunate. I think you worked bloody hard for where you're getting. There's no fortunate about it. You guys have worked your socks off. I know this because I've seen you for a couple of years now, many years now, and always brilliant. And obviously the music's fantastic. You don't let us down. I'm not just saying this. It's unusual, isn't it, for a band like yourself to have 3 albums, each one as good, if not better than the rest. So well done on that. Live, you're fantastic. But I think we're more than that with you. And you talked about the Crow family. I spoke to people, I think it was last year, and it was as a Steelhouse possibly, can't remember, I wasn't there. And I said to people, oh God, it was raining. What was the best part of it? Did you enjoy it? And six separate people said, I'll tell you what happened. We watched those damn crows. They were incredible. But that night or the next night, we joined Shane Greenhall doing karaoke. And actually, that what that tells me is it's a family, isn't it? It's not a one-way thing. These guys, you pay it back. You do all the work. You treat them like family, and you use the word family. So when you say fortunate, I know you're not. It's not in your nature to be arrogant, but you've got good songs. You've got the whole thing. You treat your fans well. So hats off.
We call them family because we feel like that. It's not just a play on words. It's not just a, there's a lot of things now that to just entice people in, or clever wordplay, but we generally believe like they are our family. You got Uncle Norbert, you got Crazy Auntie, you know what I mean? It's just an extended family, and I say that, I can honestly say that because of, we were just discussing before we went on air, some of the presents we given and stuff. It feels more than just us boys getting on stage, doing our work, getting our pay, and off we go. It is, as you said, a two-way thing, and that's what I mean by we're fortunate. We're fortunate that we've got that fan base, and they're as committed as we are, and it's an incredible force, man. It's honestly, like we played Download 2022, and the amount of t-shirts that were in that festival of ours and other festivals, it's not just people that come to our shows. They buy our merch, and they go to other festivals, go to other shows, and it's amazing when you see our band on somebody else's back. It's an incredible feeling.
Talking about ticket prices, I think back to that. I suppose I know Download is expensive, and it's in it. And I said I wouldn't go anymore, but that year it was Maiden. It was a few other bands I wanted to see. You guys were on the main stage, and Wagons were on the other stage, and Uncle Lane were on another stage. So it felt like, I think I was like a lot of the fans. I was like, well, actually, these fans, the band have worked for this. Let's be there for them, because we're all in it together. Without sounding like a massive Wagon song, do you know what I mean? So well done for that, and that was great. Download. I'm sure I know the fans, and Maid of Stone will be just, you'll see it at Maid of Stone. Great at making these new fans, but having the full family there will be fantastic.
We love festivals for that reason. You don't just see like big bands. You see ourselves. You see the bands coming up, and that's what I love about Maid of Stone, is like there's a lot of bands we've toured with, we've played on other festivals with. So it's they're almost like the grassroots, aren't they? It's all those levels, and it's only going to add to bands' experiences and make them better on stage. So I love a festival, man, not just to play at, but to actually watch bands.
Before we get on to prices and t-shirts, because t-shirts is a good point to mention as well, I want to know a little bit more about this karaoke, Shane, if you don't mind, because Pete's dropped you in it there now, and we're going to have to get the story as to exactly what happened there, because that sounds like one of those we're here for the weekend moments, we're going to go in hard, and it ended up in karaoke with the fans.
Ian Dante was doing his Planet Rock DJ sort of set after, I think it was Saturday night. Yeah, it was Saturday night. And all of a sudden I heard him play Blink of an Eye, and all I heard was just like all the crowd singing it. And I looked at Ronnie, and I'd had a few by this point. I looked at Ronnie and said, I'm going over. Ronnie ran with me straight over to the tent, jumped up on stage, to like the crowd just went nuts. And then I started singing Blink of an Eye to myself, I guess. Our track. And the crowd loved it, and I loved it. It was high fives, it was drinks thrown everywhere. It was just amazing, man. It was, and that's it, man. It's not just like performing, it's not just doing your bit, it's enjoying music. And for me at the moment, the last 2 years in particular, after COVID, obviously, I've really realized, like, you've got to enjoy this, because God knows, man, like COVID, nobody expected that. No one knew anything about that. We all take it for granted, and it's really hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, this switch has gone off. You gotta love what you do, because God knows, man, if that ever happens again, if I can't go and perform, or so perhaps, I don't know, 2-3 years ago I might not have done that, but now I'm enjoying and loving every minute. You never know.
People just were talking about it, and they were talking about it it was really pouring rain. It could have been a bit of a disaster, but this was a memory, and you've made that memory to people. And that's partly, I think, when we talk about festivals and talk about the pricing out and stuff, I think people nowadays, and I could be wrong here, not the bigger bands, but people kind of go to the bands to watch the bands, but they also want a part of it themselves, and rightly so, maybe for the cost. And that's what you gave them, Shane. I think, well, that's what a lot of bands, and you give them that. You kind of, it's that two-way thing, which I think is so important, and you can't fake it.
Exactly. I mean, I didn't go over because the price of the ticket was. I just spontaneously heard the song, but it was more the fact how many people were singing it back. Like I could barely hear the track; it was so loud, and the crowd was singing. And I just thought, why not? And the reaction was incredible. It was amazing. But the PA was terrible. Got to sort that out in that tent.
Singer always blames the PA.
Oh, it was awful. Absolutely awful.
One of the things you latched onto there, Pete, was around the experience and what people get from something like that, what the fans themselves take away, because that is a one in a moment type experience as well. And coming back to something Chris mentioned just around, the prices of tickets, and I mean AC/DC being a great example. People everywhere on social media moaning about the cost of the tickets, and yet those two shows in London, for example, pretty much sold out already. And is it value for money, or is it the fact that there's another generation that have never had the opportunity to see AC/DC sing with Brian Johnson? Because, of course, the last time they played over here, however many years ago, it was with Axl Rose with his broken leg in the throne, trying to do the show like that. Great reception, vocal work done very, very well. Once in a lifetime chance to see AC/DC fronted with Axl. But now I'm looking at this thinking, well, I first saw AC/DC, and it was late even for me. I think the first time I saw them was at Monsters of Rock in 91, was it? Thereabouts. And I remember that very fondly. And I'm looking back thinking, well, that was over 30 years ago. How can they still be as good? But there were people that weren't even born when I saw them then, that are going to see them for the first time this time. So maybe it is value for money for them, because it could well be the last chance they do get to see them. I don't know.
Is it value for money? It all depends on I suppose, on you. Personally, I've seen AC/DC a few times. I wouldn't pay that price, but then I'm skin so popular. That's why. Springsteen, I love Springsteen. I'm a huge fan. But I'm not going to go this year because I can't afford it. But that's my choice. So the value for money thing, I think it's hard to say. I think festivals, and Maid of Stone, I'm going to say that because I'm still after a free ticket. I'm only joking. I bought my ticket, Chris. It's they're worth the money, even the more expensive ones, because you've got 30 odd bands, so they are really value for money. And I think the problem is, but like AC/DC for 150 quid, these things are expensive to put on. And you know that, Shane. If you just those damn clothes just played on their own, just say you played Wembley, and soon you'll be playing Wembley. You know how expensive that is. So actually, I don't agree with the surge pricing, but what can you do about that? I don't agree with ticket touts, as in tickets places reselling their own tickets. But I think for the basic cost, is it value? I think it's probably to do with the eyes of the beholder. I think
a lot of the audience are going to be those 20-somethings that have never seen the band live before.
You're right. It's a funny one, and I suppose if you're going to pay the money, if people are going to pay the money, then it's value for money because they're going to pay for it. I suppose. Pearl Jam are the same. I'm not going to see Pearl Jam this year for £150. I'm not whinging about it. I'm just not going to pay that money. But then I'm very lucky because I've seen them so often for so much cheaper. I suppose in a way we're lucky that way. But yeah.
It's a strange year shaping up. I mean, for the last sort of 5-6 months, I've been speaking to a lot of promoters, a lot of agents, and everyone's saying, it's a terrible year. Everyone's really struggling. Not many headline bands are touring or are available, and it's been difficult to do things like Maid of Stone. But all the festivals that are around what we do seem to be going ahead, and I've never seen so many big bands coming out with summer and going into fall or winter tours, and the prices are so high. AC/DC, Heart, I think Journey just came out today. Obviously, ZZ Top. so there's a lot of big names around. And I think when it comes to something like, I mean, value is a personal thing, but also I think I get it all the time. People say, people come to me on social media, your tickets are too expensive. And, I mean, I read and I pay attention to everything. The first thing I think you have to kind of work out with that is, are they value for money, or is the person commenting they just, they can't afford it? They don't have that amount of disposable income. That's fine. But I think everything that we do is value for money. And I think, as Pete said, a lot of the festivals are value for money. But even then, you might have 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 bands on the bill. But people will still look at the kind of headliners and make their pricing decision based on that a lot of the time, which is a shame. But, it's to be the way it is. I'm with Pete. For me, I don't think £300 to sit or potentially stand at the back of a pitch to take in something like AC/DC is value for money for me. But I would not hold it against anyone who gets value from that, sees value in that, and takes their chance. It's the world that we live in. I do worry about people being priced out of gigs and festivals. And that's why we do things like payment plans and so on. But it's a very personal thing. I worry, are we going beyond the kind of cost of things and inflation and into kind of, cash grabbing or profiteering? That's my concern. And I don't know, it feels like it's going that way. But then again, who am I to tell a band or a festival what they can charge? If there's people willing to pay it, it's within everyone's interest to make the most money.
I'm not going to be Kiss bashing, but Kiss are money machines. I mean, we know that they're in, there's no bones about that. Yep. But people will still go and buy everything they've got, and they take the love. And if you're going to go and see Kiss again, the value for money thing, and buy t-shirts for 50 quid, if they've got the money, even if they haven't got the money, if that makes them happy, if that gives them joy, I suppose it is value for money. And I suppose back to Shane and those damn Crows, that's the thing. I think the ZZ Top gig's huge, isn't it? And some of the Crow family may not be able to go because they just haven't got the spends. But that's what I love about bands like those damn Crows and other bands like that. They accept that. And I think you just saying earlier on, we accept that. And I know, and that you'll do everything you can for them. You'll still be on socials, you'll still do. And that's the key, I think. And it's a real fine balancing act, and I understand it's not easy. But I think that's really appreciated by the fans of the bands like yourself, who naturally will go up in price. Of course you're gonna. You can't charge 18 quid for a Wembley gig. It's impossible.
It is really tough, and we are in that sort of. We're doing arenas now, and what's crazy is it's difficult, boys, because unless you set up a festival, unless you know the ins and outs of that festival, what it takes to organize a festival, or from a band perspective, what it takes to put on a show or a tour, how many people you've got to employ to do X, Y, and Z. Security alone is astronomical. Until you know the ins and outs, can you really then look at the ticket price and know yourself, hey, this is an honest amount, and there's no above and beyond. This is like, yes, everyone's got to make money. Of course they do. But it's not taking the piss, I think with bands like the ones you just said now, AC/DC and stuff, there's the nostalgic value added on top, I think, which makes it probably more expensive than a Foo Fighters show. Or it's because they've been there and done it for so long. The fact they've got so many hits. And as you said, it's a generation thing. So it's the people that have seen them 20 years ago can come and see them again. But then for the new kids on the block, it might be the last time they see them. So it's difficult for me to say as a band member, because I don't want to upset anybody, and I'd love the AC/DC tour. But the point I'm making is I understand why the tickets are there, especially as you just said there, Adrian, they sold out. So people are buying them. So exactly. It's difficult to drop it when they can charge that. But I understand totally in the day and age, especially right now, how much money it costs just to go and enjoy yourself for an hour and a half, 2 hours at a rock show. can cost you the earth, and that's hard for people, especially from our ground level up. And we've seen those rises, and I know firsthand like how much it costs just to put on a tour. We went on tour with the Hollywood Vampires. Boys, I can't, the amount of money we spent on that European tour just to go on tour with them. That's not our show. Just to go on tour was, the cost was immense. It's the most we've ever spent. I'm not talking small change here. I'm talking tens of thousands of pounds. It was astronomical. And the funny thing is, we had all through the years of being in this band, we'd saved our money. We've never really taken from the kitty. Everything we've earned, it's for these opportunities. And so when that opportunity came, we had a good amount of money in our bank. When it came, we just thought, okay, financially, this isn't doable, but we have the funds. Let's do it for the opportunity. And that's what we did. So it wasn't a buy on or nothing. It was just sheer how much it costs to go on tour with a tour bus around Europe. And there were a couple of shows where they pulled. So it meant that, our hotels and everything, you can't refund that. The fuel it costs to get there, all these things. People have no idea just how it gets from A to B, let alone in a different country. It's really, really difficult. So I can fight for both sides, really.
It's got to be a good example, though, of where that's the right sort of tour for you guys, though, because you would imagine a Hollywood Vampires crowd would appreciate your sound. It's the right sound for their ears, isn't it? It's a good match.
Yeah, absolutely. But if we hadn't have kept the money in the kitty and that opportunity came and we were spending the money on every show, that opportunity's gone. Because we were not earning enough being on the tour to be on the tour. Just off. So, they're the sacrifices. They're what you got to do. And sometimes it's not just about playing as many shows as you can. You've got to bat clever. You've got to keep that money in the bank for a rainy day, or an opportunity comes where financial reasoning goes out the window. It's like, this opportunity's come. We have to take it with both hands. Remortgage, whatever you need to do. We didn't do that. But
unless you're the Dead Daisies, of course.
Well, there we go. That's a different thing altogether. But yeah, I saw, these huge bands. It's crazy because we were there, obviously. It's such a super lineup, and people were paying the meet and greets. It was, honestly, boys, it was astronomical, the money they were charging for these meet and greets. And we were watching this happen, and they literally come in, they'd be queuing outside, and they would come in, shake their hands, have the photo, there's your goodie bag, gone. And it was 1,200 quid for that.
Oof.
And I was in this, I couldn't believe it. It wasn't 5-6 minutes. We are talking a minute at best. And that's if someone asked Johnny a question and then the security guy was going, out you go. So it was, it is difficult.
Wow.
But if people are willing to pay it for those opportunities, as you rightly said, boys, from a word go, it's up to the person. Whatever they spend their money on is up to them. It's a tricky one.
This is the funny, can it just on a meet and greet thing? Because to me, maybe I always think I've not got an ego, but obviously I have. Because I think if I meet someone, so you bump into something like yourself at Maid of Stone, and you bump into, and you go, great show, Shane. Did you enjoy it up there? And I know you always spend time with people, even if you're busy, and you go, yeah, thanks for the show, whatever. And people leave happier, right? And because they feel that they got a part of you. But if you bought that 1 second in the handshake and the selfie, I don't feel, isn't that a bit of a rip-off? I always think I know the big bands and they can do what they want, but surely they should be meeting the fans anyway. And I know it's easier said than done, and it's a very easy thing to say. But the meet and greet thing doesn't sit right with me, especially when it's like walk, shake hand, move on. Like, and as somebody who's getting there, as somebody who's really, really getting there, do you imagine one day you'll be charging £1,500 to meet and greet, or can't you honestly think to yourself, hold on here, they paid a ticket, they paid a t-shirt, they came to see me. If I know you can't see anyone, but if I bump into them, I'm going to be pleasant because they're part of the family.
Yeah. it's tricky, Bud, because there's people in our camp, not so much the band, but have asked 2 tours ago we should do a meet and greet, and we've said no. And it's because it's the Crow family, and then we're charging our family to come. You know, they're paying for the ticket to come and see us. But if they do want the extras, because we were talking about how do we justify that. It was the same with the Patreon and stuff too, because we were doing Crowcast for 2 years, and then
which was, by the way, can I point out, which was worth the money, because you guys put a lot of effort into that, and some other people and other bands that naming names didn't really put a lot of effort in, but you put in a shift.
We did, but and people behind the scenes in our camp were like, we should be charging for this, and we never did. It didn't feel right to me. Everyone was going through this horrific time, and what, we're gonna now charge them? It just didn't sit right with me at all. So we didn't. And then it was a case of, should we try a Patreon? And so there's all these, look, up and coming bands. It's getting harder to put on shows, put on tours, to actually make money, because the minute your tour goes a little bit bigger, or a bigger venue, you've got to employ more people, more staff, more security, bigger show, lighting rigs, staging, and before you know it, even though you've gone up perception wise, you're not making any more money, because the extra is being spent on everything to put that show on. So it's really difficult. So you could argue with a Patreon, you get more money to put into your band, therefore put on a better show. Now that's what we would do, because we don't take from the Crow Kitty, as we call it. It all goes back in to our shows for those opportunities. But if you are hoping to make money on a weekly, monthly basis, you've got to think outside the box, and maybe those avenues are the way to go. There's no right or wrong. It just feels, for me, at the moment where we are, it feels wrong to pay when they've already paid to see you. And if these people, and like I've noticed in the last couple of shows, there's brand new people that come to see us, word of mouth and stuff. So, and then I'll see someone who I've known for 4 or 5 years, because they've been there from day one, or 9 years, people have been there from day one. And I will react differently. Of course I will, because I've got an experience. They've been there from day one. So it'd be hard to charge them from day one. It'd be easier to charge people that haven't. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But but morally, that's kind of wrong too. So I don't know what the answer is, lads. All I know is right now it feels wrong, but God knows I never say never, because I've been caught out before. As it feels now, it's difficult to do the meet and greet thing, if I'm honest, and charge.
Of course.
I have to say, I've done it a few times myself, is where instead of it just being a pure meet and greet, it's been sound check and a 20-minute Q&A or something like that, where you've spent the extra, but boy, it's a bigger experience, because not only are you hearing some of the stuff that's going to be played later in the day, you get to just see a little bit of the behind the curtain element of it, and then the Q&A as well. You're there, you're with them, you might manage a couple of selfies or something like that if you're lucky, but you come away from that actually buzzing, because it's not as, you know, you mentioned with the vampires thing, it's not just a production line. You're all in it together with the rest of the fans, and although it's a limited number, I think that does work well.
I agree with that, Adrian, and we've done that on competitions with the Crow family. If they on Crowcast, they come in to see the sound check, and I like the question and answer Q&A. I like that, because then you're having communication. Then then you're taking something away, not just a T-shirt or whatever's in your goodie bag. There's actual connection, and I asked
memories.
That's
absolutely.
100%.
I asked Lloyd a question, and Lloyd said this was funny. They'll take that away. That's everything. Connection.
Those kind of meet and greets that you just mentioned, Shane, do you think that those are kind of dying out, in the sense that it's very much the older guard, the rock celebrity, they've been around for a long time, A-listers, whatever? But I mean, you know, your generation younger, it's different in the industry now. You don't sign record deals and get £1 million up front. You're not whisked off into a bubble and as a as a star, the ego is completely different or non-existent. And you have the connection with the fans right off the bat through social media, through Patreon, through whatever crowdfunders. As you say, it would be almost impossible to go from that to a point where you suddenly turn around to someone who's been following you for 15 years and say, I want 1,200 quid for that. So do you think it's kind of, that's the kind of last bastion of this sort of thing, and that your generation and younger won't do that?
I'm not sure, but I'm seeing, I'm being put in a situation where I don't really want to, there's no right or wrong for me, whatever you want to choose as a band. But I do know bands that are our level, just a little higher, that are doing it. We went on tour with the Goo Goo Dolls, and they were doing it. Obviously, they've had massive hits and stuff. So again, they probably class them as a lot bigger band than us. But I am seeing how bands are looking, especially when they sign with an agent or a manager, and it's about then where can you make money, whereas the bands coming up, it's just merchandise and shows, basically. And it's a manager's job, I guess, to make money. Obviously, at the moment, it feels a bit wrong for us, but who knows, man. And I suppose the bands that have got the best sense are bands like Sleep Token, because that never happen with a meet and greet, because it's all behind the mask, is it? It's all about it's never going to happen. That's the way to do it.
Maybe you could do that. Maybe you could wear masks a couple gigs, get somebody to the meet and greet, go down to Boozer, watch the rugby. Happy days.
In 10 years' time, I'll be wearing a mask, let me tell you. Bags.
A Lonnie mask.
Yeah.
There's also the point, I suppose, that if you look at other venue-based ticket sales, if we take the Premier League as an example, what you pay for a single match Premier League ticket these days is probably a day at Maid of Stone.
Yes.
And that really put it into comparison. Then you're getting 90 minutes of 22 guys on the pitch, or you're getting midday till 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Well, I followed football for years, and I stopped suddenly, which any football fan who hears this is just going to think I'm such a heathen. But I've always been, maybe because I'm northern and I'm probably tight, I've always been a value shopper, a value person. And I think I used to support Middlesbrough, and I was sitting at an away game at Chelsea. I think I paid £50 for a ticket, and bear in mind this was 20 odd years ago. And it was the worst game of football I'd ever watched in my life. And I literally sat there. At the end of it, I was like, I'm just not doing this anymore because I'm not enjoying it, and there's no value in it. So yes, I agree. I think, where I spend that on a show, absolutely, hands down. 2 hours. I'll go out early. I'll make a night of it, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think obviously it now feels like it's going beyond that. I mean, I had an inflation calculator early, and I put in. I keep seeing people saying, back in 1980, like 20 quid was an expensive show. So 20 quid in 1980, adjusted for inflation, is about £75 now, which I thought was a kind of an arena type price. I mean, I took my boy to see Iron Maiden. It was his first show. He'd always wanted to. I've seen Maiden dozens of times. Wasn't really that bothered the last time around. I was sat up in the gods in the O2, but he loved it. And I didn't think a second thing about paying that. But now, within the last couple of weeks, we're seeing 300, which is a hell of a leap from there. And again, I'm with you, Shane. I don't really want to go into sort of like saying this is good or bad. But one thing I think that most fans are jumping on is the dynamic pricing issue, which is a completely separate thing. I mean, they're obviously firing a lot of vitriol at Ticketmaster, which is a bit unfair. I mean, Ticketmaster do it, but it is obviously a decision by the manager of the team, the promoter, or whoever. But I think it's now scaling to the point where a lot of people think, well, I'm not getting value for money at £1,000 to go and see, 3 hours worth of show.
But it's interesting you saying there, Chris. If Middlesbrough were winning and you were enjoying it, would you carried on paying that?
Well, possibly.
Shane, that's not going to happen. So I don't know why you've been saying that.
I know that. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, well, but. So what is it worth then? Is the ticket? Are we talking about the price here? Because the price was 50 quid, you paid for it, but you didn't enjoy it, and then just thought, you know, I can't be doing this. But if you were enjoying it every week, or you would find a way to make that money because it's making how it's making you feel. And then this is like the issue I find. There's especially when you put on tours and you're the headline band. I never really felt it when we're supporting another band, but when people are coming to see your show, the pressure is unbelievable. From my perspective of if I've got a bad throat or I think, oh, I'm not singing as good as I have done on the rest of the tour, and it's the big one tonight, perhaps it's Manchester, London, and it's like, oh, I'm going to let these people down. I want everyone to go away feeling like that ticket was worth, you know, whatever it was, 30 quid or 20 quid, 25 quid, whatever it is. And if everybody, like, so the value of a 25 quid ticket, even if they didn't enjoy it, and they just went, it was all right. It's 25 quid. It's not an issue. If it was 75 quid, 150 quid, and they walked away going, oh my God, that was amazing. Still, that's worth it. If they go away thinking, I didn't enjoy that, wasn't worth it. It's everyone. It's got to be put into context, because you can't be swinging and winning on every show or every experience you have in life. And it goes back to then, if you got the money to go and see AC/DC, and that's the cost, like, forget now if it's a good or bad show. Can you afford it? Yes. If you've saved up for it, or we go in, have the best time possible. Forget the band to a certain degree. Get with your friends, get with your family, have the best time possible, because this is a one-off 300 quid ticket. Make the most of it. Don't stand there thinking, impress me, because that's half the failure sometimes, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's not just the ticket price. You've got to go in there wanting to have a good time. And don't get me wrong, if they die on their ass, fair enough, that's a waste of money. But I guarantee you it won't be, because there'll be thousands of people losing their mind because they're playing Back in Black. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really tricky one. Context is everything.
It's funny you said that. When I do comedy a lot, I remember doing a headlining a night in London, and there's two guys standing in there, just standing arms crossed, one play all day, and I did my bit, and they were laughing. And the guy goes to me, oh, mate, that was quite good. That was good. Well done. We thought it was going to be crap. And I said, so why did you pay 12 quid?
Exactly.
And you know, for me personally, as a fan, so looking at Maid of Stone, looking at Stone Dead, looking at all these festivals I go to, even when I'm comparing it, even as a fan, in my head, the minute I get to that place and I put my tent up, I'm on holiday, because I'm with the family, I'm with people, and I feel comfortable and feel safe. And actually, like Maid of Stone, for example, yes, of course, it's about the band. We're all excited about the bands and stuff. Of course we are. But actually, if you really get down to it, the bands are a massive bonus. But it's each other. That's the key. And like you said, and it won't happen, but if a band has a howler, I don't think it's not going to. You're going to be a weird person if Toby Jebsen slips and it ruins someone else's day. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you're right. But people think nowadays maybe expect too much, but it's good. You're always going to get the odd individuals. We know that, but you're right. And that's what I mean with the festivals. I've got a season ticket for Port Vale, and I think festivals are cheating. It's like going to football, but you're guaranteed to win. That's what it is. Yeah. You know.
Presumably, though, to Shane's point, a season ticket for Port Vale is 25 quid well spent, isn't it?
They're playing right now, 2-0. 300. Yeah. Port Vale, I'll tell you, I'm not gonna offend any people from Stoke, but
it's tricky, man. Like if I had 300 quid and I went to watch AC/DC, and it'd be the first time for me watching them live, and if they weren't up to scratch, then I'd be like, okay, I went to see AC/DC. And again, it comes back to the nostalgia thing. Are you paying over the odds because they are, as you say, like the creme de la creme, as in bands that have been there, done it, still doing it? And if they aren't perhaps as energetic as, I don't know, one of the bands in our, you know what I mean, who want it so much.
Yeah.
And you see that energy on stage, because sometimes that's more value to your ticket when you're seeing someone absolutely like loving what they're doing and giving their all. Because I do find some of the biggest bands I've seen have been, they're just, you know, doing the same.
Going through the motions.
Yeah, a little. Not all of them, but it obviously, they are getting to an age you know, where it's not as easy as it was energy wise.
No, it's not as I'm 50. It's not easy me walking down the street as it was. So I don't know how you guys can do it on stage. But that's about the value. And I think the festivals, and we all know the chestnut about watching support bands. And if you want value for money, then watch a support band. And if you don't like them, go to the bar. It's not an issue. No one's going to complain. But again, some people are people, aren't they? And it's a strange beast. You know what it's like in certain cities. I know it's a comic. It's probably the same. Certain cities will, I think Wales is very much. I'm not just saying this. I think everybody in Wales is like this, and Newcastle is like this. People will go and have fun and want to enjoy it. And if it's bad, they might let you know. Other places, they kind of stand there arms crossed. Impress me then.
Yeah.
There was
one guy, as I said at the start of this, I'm terrible with venues and where we played, but there was one venue we played, and there was a guy who made it his mission to come down to the front to stand there with his arms crossed. And he didn't say, and I clocked him, and the boys clocked him, and man, did we just like give our all to him and smiling to him, kill him with love. You know what I mean? It's like, he wasn't enjoying it, but it was almost like he was making this decision to try and put us off our game. For me, that made me inside like laugh and just thought, I respect you, but the fact you've almost ruined your evening by coming down to the front to make this spectacle, what for? Like, if you don't enjoy us, go to the back, leave the room.
If you don't enjoy us, go home and watch Emmerdale.
What are you doing? It was so weird. But I don't know what he thought that was going to put us off or something. But
as a comedian, you get that all the time. And it is like that judging. It's like it's people who are insecure. But we've all seen that. Well, I remember once at festival, and somebody was standing. I was watching. It must have been. I don't know what it was. But watching a band, and one of my mates was standing there. I hate this band. They're rubbish. And I'm like, there's 5 other stages on this field. Go to another one. But of course, the problem is they wanted to not enjoy it because that's their nature. And you just have to look at them and give them a hug and say, well, I'm going to enjoy it because I paid the money and I want my money's worth. And actually, life's too short. And I think, Shane, you do this, and I think that this is the magic of bands. I think you guys do it really well. When you're on stage and you're performing, you've got thousands of people, and each individual one. I always say this before, I've gone through a divorce or money problems or rent problems or mortgage problems. And for that hour and a half, you've taken all their problems and thrown them away. And that's a huge
that's
gift.
just me.
yeah. That is a huge gift. Well, funnily enough, when you say that to people, the band said this is a two-way thing. And I think some people who stand there are missing the point. And it's a shame, isn't it? Because they're not bad people. They're just missing the point.
It's strange, man. It's like, as you said, life is like so short. So why would you spend it doing something you don't enjoy? Or I don't know. It was a funny one for me. It's the first time it's ever happened, and it was I think it was at a festival.
If we find him, can we pay for his Maid of Stone ticket? I just want to watch him.
You could walk past me in the street, but I can't. I wouldn't be able to remember. My memory's I'm like a goldfish. But I just found it really, really odd and strange, but like that's just life, isn't it? So you like some things, you don't like others, but to make that statement and stand there in the way he did, I just thought
there was a band who played Maid of Stone, and I mean, it was one of the good mates of mine, and they played a festival not long ago, and the singer gave it us all, as he always does. And the minute he came off stage, he wasn't even off stage. He was getting, what it's like, getting stuff off. And this woman said something to him, and she told me what she said straight away. She was very proud, and she said, "Do you know what? I really enjoyed it. That was amazing. But you should get a new singer." And you're thinking, what? Why would you say that to someone like that? And she told me, and he told me, and he put a smile on his face, and he's very professional. And he said, "Oh well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I really tried." What's wrong with people?
Amazing, isn't it? Imagine turning up to their works and just saying something, shooting them down. It's just awful. I don't get it.
That's the downside of the internet, though, isn't it? Because people think they have a much greater freedom with their voices these days. You can say whatever you want, and once it's out there, there's no accountability, and you can get away with it. And that then translates to real life interactions where you do get that, because typically that would have just been a comment on a post after they'd watched a live video or something. In this particular case, they've actually seen the set, they've seen a member of the band there and gone, yeah, but your lead singer's a bit rubbish and we don't really like that. And that's how their heads work these days, and that's a real unfortunate side effect of social media.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
really
because people's
is.
opinions have to be aired, don't they?
Mm.
It is odd. It's
Yeah.
strange, and it's like kind of like, I know I'm going to be a gripe here, and I don't know if Shane, if you this affects you at all, or you guys. But when you on social media, when you post like I do my gigs and we do my events, and you want people to come, obviously, and you're trying to sell tickets, and people are saying, yeah, I'll be there, and then somebody posts a message saying why they can't make it, and they mean well, but you're like, I don't need to know you can't make it. I just need to know the people who make it. And it doesn't mean to be negative. It's like, oh, I can't make it. I've got a bad head. And you go, there could be millions of people who are not coming to my gig. And it's that negativity. I don't know. Maybe it's just people thinking social media not quite working out well. It should be a place to sell and to buy into, and I mean that in a nice way, and to promote.
Whenever you're on stage, it's I've never known anything like it. People expect you to be nigh on perfect, like on every occasion. Like if you've been on tour, you're as good as your last show, as I always say to the boys. But so if something is slightly off, like for example, we played Winter's End recently. We headlined Winter's End down in with Planet Rock, and I had been unwell for 6 weeks. I don't know whether it was COVID, I don't know whether it was flu, and I haven't had the flu in years, but it hit me for 6. And someone said, and it wasn't negative as such, just someone said, oh, it wasn't their usual energetic self. That's all was said, really. And then this barrage of stuff that came after it, it's because this idea now is respect my opinion, but I disagree with that. Like, your opinion's your opinion. You can have it, but you can't say respect it, because there are multiple opinions to, like, there could have been thousands of people in our show going, that was an amazing gig. Well, it was, because that's what the barrage come back with. They were having a go at this person. There was no negative, but just saying as she saw it. And I just think it's too, as you said, Adrian, it's too easy now to just have a debate or an argument. And it didn't really need to happen at all. It's respect my opinion. Everyone's going. And that's sometimes is a bigger problem than actually the situation, because why voice it if it's not positive? Like,
yeah, well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Why we all like, if an album comes out, and I'm slightly disappointed with an album, not yours, I want to point out, Shane, but if like, you know, if an album I've loved since I was a kid comes out and I'm not bothered, do you know what I'll do? I probably won't listen to it as much. I won't air my opinion on Facebook. I don't need to tell the world. Nobody needs to know what I think of the new Maiden album. No one cares. I don't care what I think about it. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think people have to feel the need to, and the sad thing is, if it's positive, it's brilliant, because it's going to help promote. And I think we all need that. Of course we do. But I think if it's negative, just keep it to yourself. Surely that must be the obvious thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, if you don't like something, then you don't have to be a part of whatever that is.
No.
So just say nothing and go and do whatever you want to do, or you like.
Yeah.
It's a strange one. Thankfully it's never happened too much with us. But I could see, like, why, as Adrian said there now, it's almost become a reason, or this invisible wall, isn't it? You know, where you can just say what you want, and then the aftermath that comes from it. It's not really doing any good to anyone other than mentally messing up someone's day.
I know when I was on tour with Wayward Sons and have a comedian on as a main support was a thing. So many the comments were nasty at first before even, and it was just weird. And I suppose it's like these music reviewers you get. I don't know if you've seen these. I love them when they say, "Oh, I reviewed this festival. I didn't review this band because I don't like them very much. So I went to get something to eat." You don't need to put that. Just don't mention them. You know what it's like. But people feel the need, and but thankfully, there's more people to praise and to give compliments and to enjoy themselves than there are these negative ones. But I think as a professional, Shane, you kind of, without meaning to, 1,000 people can say you're great, but that one negative comment probably sticks.
Yeah, I honestly, but it's water off a duck's back of me. It doesn't bother me at all. But what was going back to Winter's End, when that lady said what she had said, she was making an opinion based on what she was seeing, which is absolutely fine. But the context is she was absolutely bang on, because I was dying. Like I was at man flu, and I felt awful. I couldn't properly sing. I couldn't properly run around the stage. Energy was zapped. So what she was saying was right, but you can't come on social media going, oh, this lady's right, because I've been ill for 6 weeks. You know, you can't go through life explaining everything you do on stage. But this weird thing when you're on stage, it's like, here I am, and everyone thinks you're absolutely 100% fit, mentally, physically. You know, it's weird. What they see in front of them isn't actually what's gone on. They don't know what's gone on in the past few days, few weeks of this person's life. Could have been terrible news, could have had something bad happen. It's just this front and persona you got to put on, and I'm all for it. It's what I love to do. But when things don't go well, you know, like Winter's End for me personally, someone sees it, and then there's this barrage of people attacking this lady, and I was like, calm down, everyone. But I can't go on and say that, because then it looks like I'm defending her. It's so weird. You almost got to go switch off. It's crazy.
You make a very interesting point there, though, with the fact that you say about people expect to know everything that's going on. They do expect to know everything that's going on, because they almost feel like they're entitled to these days.
Yes.
There's an element of, if you go back to the sort of the A-listers that Chris was talking about earlier, where there's that disconnect between the band and the fans.
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons why, for example, they do pay €1,200 or dollars or pounds for a ticket to get that 60-second meet and greet, because it's their only opportunity to have even the briefest of interactions with the people that they've followed forever. Whereas with the up and coming bands these days that have used social media to market themselves and push their brand forward, they've opened themselves up to their fans. Their fans have come to expect it. And even the fact that, you know, I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't well, I'd been ill previously. If they didn't know that, they'd be amazed. They'd think they were entitled to know it in some cases.
Absolutely. 100%. And I feel that Crowcast at that time, where, you know, there wasn't shows, and that became our weekly show on stage, on a TV screen like this, you know, and addressing our fan base and keeping in touch with them. And when the gigs started coming back, everyone was like, you don't understand what Crowcast. I felt like you guys were in my living room or my, you know, bedroom, wherever they were watching it. That connection thing. So you're absolutely bang on, Adrian. And it was something we didn't consciously do. It was just something to keep in touch with the fans, and because we couldn't do shows, and that became a little lifeline to our fan base anyway, for those 2 years, and it meant a lot. So then when there's something, one of the band members are unwell, why didn't you say? Well, you know, and again, and calling our fans Crow family, we are close. So again, it's another psychologically sort of connection there, and it was never intentional. It was just, that's how it felt. So when people come to see us now, it's like they care about us. It's not just the performers, but it's the people that are new fans coming to see us. It's like, you know, the sense of, as you said, what's the ticket worth? Impress me, you know. So it's a funny one, man.
I love how fans can feel or get so close to musicians and artists these days, and I think, especially up to a certain level, it massively helps bands. But I do feel, like you say, Shane, there's that. I mean, I was speaking to a band recently who's on Maid of Stone on the third stage, and they do a lot of it. And as a marketer, I kind of I advise them to do it, because you can create super fans who are going to buy all your t-shirts and follow you around. But they're never going to be able to cut off. Like, you know, they're getting private messages from their fans, which is great. They answer them. But, you know, when they become stadium fillers, those fans are still going to expect that. And I think that's the tough part, you know.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's a band who was speaking to not long ago, 6 months ago, and they said the same. They said, we're on that stage now that we're not replying to our messages, and they all hated it and they felt rude. But they have, and you know what it's like. You've got to go through, and it's horrible because you feel you're being unjust or unloyal to your fans, but at the same time, you can't carry on like you were doing 3 years ago. It's impossible. You'll never get any music recorded. You'll be too busy messaging the fans.
Yeah, I've had many. But again, it's one of those things where I'm a stickler. Like, if I see someone like reaching out for help and stuff, I'm terrible. I'm like, I want to help. Like, even if I'm not in any position to give any advice, but it's amazing how, again, that persona being on stage, how people want your advice, which is, again, something you got to get your head around. It's just remarkable sometimes. I'm like everyone, like you guys, but I've had a few really tough messages, and I've been able to respond because, again, I got an experience with these people over the past 8 years. But if it's new, we went on tour in Germany last year, and I had a message sent over from somebody from Germany, and it was extremely deep, but extremely dark. And I felt uncomfortable because I didn't know this person. So you can give advice on someone you've know relatively, you've seen them a few times, you've chatted with them a few times, but giving advice to a complete stranger, that's where I draw the line, because I don't want to be accountable for something I say. I don't know that person. I don't know where they are, how fragile their mind is, what they've experienced, what their past is. That's the line for me. If someone wants to listen to my advice that I've known for a few years and I just throw it away, that'll do me. But yeah, new fans, sometimes they do it just to speak to you, and that's where it can be, and they'll use really deep and dark ways to kind of get you to do that, and that's the danger, I think. So I stay clear of that.
9 years ago when you started, it wouldn't even be a thing. You wouldn't even imagine that. So it's all you'll learn on the job, and people always say that, but you actually literally learn on the job.
I think it's because, like, I'd write the lyrics and stuff, and some of the stuff I'd write, people resonate with, and then might been to shows and they've said, "Oh, my partner left me," or "Someone has died," and those songs I quite openly say that's what it's about. So again, that connection thing, man, is so powerful, and it's never used as a marketing tool. It's just honesty. It's just telling it like it is. I don't write for anybody. I write what hits me, and then if that resonates with someone, and then before you know it, they need to tell you that they felt it, which is wonderful. And then it can go down a slope quite quickly. Yeah, it's all got to be. It's a tricky one to manage. I think it's probably the hardest thing to manage in being a band.
But it's rewarding when you get the messages back to say, this song has helped me so much because of X, Y, or Z, whatever they've gone through. And if you've helped them through that piece, and then they manage to get in touch with you to say so, that's a wonderful feeling. It's got to be, because it's one of the most selfless things, because you never knew that by writing that song it would have that impact. You wrote it for you put it out there, somebody's latched on to it, they've come back to you and said thank you very much. That's got to be a wonderful feeling, hasn't it?
It really is, Adrian. It's like the best feeling, like to resonate with a complete stranger. What it's shown me more than anything is that we all got this idea of how special we are, or the egos or whatever, but 9 times out of 10 we're all made of the same stuff. Like, I mean, internally, how something will affect you could affect me in exactly the same way. So when I write, I'm obviously, from my perspective, and then it's hitting someone like a ton of bricks in exactly the same way. I'm like, well, we can't be that different, no matter what culture, race, whatever, sexuality. It all means nothing. That's the really rewarding thing. And I'm finding now the more albums we write, it's crazy. Like, I'm writing album 4 now, and there's some, I don't want to go too much into it, I'll get a row, but there's certain subject matter that I've never written about before, and I'm now wondering, thinking, oh well, that one, the fans reacted to that like this. I wonder how they'd react to this. it's never gone into my writing. I'm writing, as I say, from my perspective, but it is something I've never done before. So I'm interested to see where that goes, what that does.
Mm.
It's fascinating. It's the best feeling in the world. Like, you don't need counseling, you don't need therapy, because you write it down on paper and then someone comes back. And that, as you said, is the reward. That is everything. That makes me feel like, oh, all that shit I've been feeling, I'm not by myself here. I'm not alone. Or, you know, and 9 times out of 10, none of us are. It's exactly how majority of us think.
That's got to be one of the benefits, though, hasn't it, of this more digital age, and how it's opened everything up to you. And whereas, for you could argue that greater exposure to your fans, you can see all the horror stories of where it's triggered stalkers and things like that. But they're the newsworthy items rather than the norm. And the norm is actually it's a great family. They all respect each other. They all look out for each other, and they all look out for you guys. And the same for other fan bases for other bands as well.
Yeah, I have had 2 stalkers though.
Listen, I apologize.
One of them was Pete.
Greenhall is gone.
I knew it was Pete in a wig. I knew it. No, but the majority, as you quite rightly say, the majority is just nothing but love and nothing. All they want to do is just tell you that your music our music has touched them in one way or another, and it's yeah, there's no better feeling, really, no, especially if it's helped them through a traumatic and tough time. That's amazing. My dad used to say it when I was a kid. He's no longer with us now. He died at 58 of cancer, but he was a musician, and I used to do the club scene like when I was a kid. And there was like, I'd be singing in a club, and there'd be like, I don't know, 30 people in there, you know, in the working man's clubs where it was just full of cigarette smoke and just the wrong place for a kid to be. But I remember singing on stage, and at the end of the gig, he said, "Look how many people you've made happy just getting on stage and sing." And I never thought about that. It was just 30 people in a room, and they would all, you know, I did drink, and bingo was the biggest crack of the night. But, you know, when someone turns around and sings, there's this connection. You're making people do that. And yeah, that's everything, being a performer. And he told me that. Of course I was witnessing it, but I hadn't heard anybody explain it like that. It wasn't about the £2.50 entry fee. It was about going home in a good mood. That's everything. So we really pride ourselves on what we do on stage, because, yeah, it's not just the value of that ticket. It's what people leave that place feeling like. That's the value.
And that is not just that time, is it? The song and the time when you're live, that's in their memory forever. That'll bring them back to happy times at different times, or sad times, and that is the key. That's what you guys do so well. It's the fantastic. It's like the whole.
Yeah, music is a bastard for that. It's incredible, isn't it? It's music. I think it's the only form that takes you straight back there. Whether you're a kid, whether good, bad, as you said, it takes you straight there, and you have the emotions, the feelings come straight back, and it hits you again. Like, yeah, like you're reliving it. It's unreal, isn't it?
It's one of the few mediums that's got repeat value.
Yeah.
You look at, I know people will say, "Oh, I went to see Star Wars when I was a kid at the cinema, 5, 6, 7 times." Yeah, but I've listened to this album from the same era 500, 600 times in my life so far, and it still hits home every time I listen to it for all the right reasons. And music has definitely got that ability to touch the soul almost, and really lift you. If you want to feel down, you can find the music to push you down as well, because it puts you in the right frame of mind just because you're in a bad place. Yep. And people do, there's a lot of music out these days where they're listening to it because they're angry at the world, angry with society, and they can find music that stirs the anger pot for them. I'm an uplifting music guy. I want to feel happy as much as possible. I'll find the music that lifts me, and that's why people look for different types of music in different things. But yeah, only music can do that, I would argue.
Yeah, and it's not even, for me, it is literally the music. It's not even lyric content. I never listen to a song and hear a lyric and it takes me somewhere. It's always the music. So the intro of a song, or as you said, or a film music, anything. Like I was looking through my demos for the past, God, I got so many demos for the past 6-7 years. And I was looking through them all, looking if there's anything I could use for this 4th album. And I came across a piece of music, and I had a tough time 6-7 years ago. And it was just this piece of music where I got a verse and a chorus, and I'm not even saying words. I'm muttering because I haven't come up with lyrics yet. But the melody just took me straight there, and I had to get away, and I couldn't come back to the Mac and record for another like 2 hours. I hadn't heard it since, and it took me straight there, and it was a dark place, and thankfully I'm very conscious of it, and just thought, oh well, it'll be fine in a couple of hours. But if I was still in that dark place, it could have tipped me over the edge, you know. But music is phenomenal. It's so powerful. It doesn't really make sense, but yet it 100% does. It's almost like a photograph, an audio photograph.
I keep on going back to the festivals, I suppose, because Maid of Stone, but again, it's like the songs, and you see loads of different bands, and you see the odd song here or there, and people, you can, if you just look at people's faces, I'm sure you see it on the stage, you can see the songs that resonate with people because they're lost in time, they're lost in space, and it's great to see. I think we love being around that. I think it's just a bit of a magical place.
It really is.
I think that's a good place to finish up. So football is bad value, music is great value.
I think that's fair. I don't think that's wrong at all. Yeah. So set for a Port Vale season ticket at 25 quid, according to Pete.
They've just they're playing just now. They were 2-0 up, 90 minutes, 2-2. Says it all.
Yeah, well, I've been following Derby County on the phone while we've all been speaking as well, and we needed a win tonight, and we were at home to Charlton, and I do believe we've just lost 2-1 to Charlton at home as well. So slightly
forget football.
About that. I'm going to listen to those damn Crows to lift me up, I think, instead.
Music, there you go.
Yeah. Fellas, that's been an absolute pleasure, as always. Shane, thank you so much for giving up your evening for us. That's really appreciated.
No problem at all. I really enjoyed that. Thank you, boys.
And I look forward to see you. I don't know when I'll see you next, Shane. Possibly Maid of Stone, but maybe before. I'm not quite sure. So, yeah, definitely so.
Awesome.
But keep up the good work.
Thank you so much,
before we finish, sorry,
go on.
Where can everyone find out about you, Shane? Where's the best place to go?
thosedamncrows.com. It's got everything on there. Our merch store, all our tour dates, everything that's happening. As we speak, all the European dates. Stick on our socials because we are going to try and get some footage of us recording and stuff. So some inside information there.
Cool, thank you, Pete.
You see me everywhere. I'm like a bad penny that doesn't do much, but feel free to find me on Amazon.co.uk. I'm still making. I made 28 pence last month on my book sales, so I was getting there. And I've got a few festivals coming up. I'm doing. I think I finished my tour now, but I'm doing Road Rage, and I'm doing a few other festivals. So and every week on Rock Radio UK on Friday night, 5 to 7. So I'll be around somewhere.
Adrian?
Fantastic. You'll find me writing and shooting for myglobalmind.com and also Power Play magazine. So that's a print mag that you'll find in all good news agents and WH Smiths as well. But before we do wrap up, Chris, I believe we've got a complete bill now as well for the festival.
Yep, we have a complete bill. maidofstonefestival.com is the best place to go. And we're on all socials pretty much with Maid of Stone. And if you're looking to an amazing summer with amazing people and those damn Crows headlining the Phoenix stage, you know where to go.
Be good to get people's thoughts on the pricing piece when you put the podcast up, I would hope. This social media log, apparently they're quite common in terms of giving their opinions.
Yeah, you get the occasional comment and opinion on social media, but I'm like Shane. I'm pretty thick-skinned. I guess I'm lucky that we we generally get a lot of support, and everyone's been very positive about what we're doing down in Malt Park. But you get the occasional troll and the occasional opinionated person, but it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, Pete with a wig on, we know that. Fellas, it's been a pleasure as always.
Amazing. Thank you, boys.
Take care, guys. See you soon.
All the best.